Andrew, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. We are at the Center for Device Innovation at Texas Medical Center, where you are a member of the 2018 TMC Next Cohort. Yep. So congratulations, first and foremost.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Will you introduce yourself and your role at AesculaTech?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Andrew Bartynski, the co-founder of AesculaTech. And so we're a medical device company making a smart material that is liquid at low temperature and then becomes solid when it warms to body temperature. And so it's a little unique and a little interesting, and it lets us do some really cool stuff in the medical device space.
I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we jump into the technology, I want to talk a little bit about you.
Great.
So did you develop an interest in chemical engineering in particular at a young age, or was there an event in your life that led you to that direction?
Yeah, so my father is a physics professor, so from a very early age I sort of had a science and engineering background that was sort of around the house at all times. So I was very much into, Legos and building things and taking things apart. And that just kind of grew into a general love for trying to build unique solutions to different problems. And so then when I get to high school, I actually had a very influential teacher who was a chemist. And so that sort of steered me towards the chemistry track, which has sort of brought me to where I am today.
Fantastic. So that actually kind of led me into my next question about your early inspiration.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your high school teacher who was a chemist and how that impacted you?
Yeah, so we basically had an AP chemistry course, so it was a lab and lecture-based course, and it was essentially the highlight of my day. You would go in there and the labs were really exciting and interesting because being a chemist is sort of like being an alchemist, right? You take these things and you transform them entirely. And so I always found it really interesting that you could take sort of these boring and uninteresting materials, put them together under the right conditions, and make something entirely new and extremely useful. And so that sort of really piqued my interest and kept me going down the track through getting an undergrad degree in chemical engineering and then a PhD eventually.
So when you were going through that process, in my experience anyway, that chemical engineering is not necessarily the stepstones to falling into the medical device industry. So what was that, or what led to that transition, chemical engineering and the application to the device space?
Definitely. So a lot of that had to do actually with when I met my co-founder. So we were both getting our doctorates together at the University of Southern California. And when meeting one another, her project was actually much more focused in the medical space. And so it exposed me to sort of an entirely new way of thinking about materials and the way that they interact with our everyday lives. And so through working together, I think we really both developed an appreciation for the way that doing novel things with chemistry can actually have a significant impact on the quality of life and healthcare outcomes for patients.
Oh wow, so it was meeting the right person that kind of shifted your attention to the right space.
Definitely, yeah.
That's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about your relationship? Do you feel the two of you support each other in maybe different ways?
Yes. So I think we both have very different outlooks and very different ways of solving problems. And so I am I would say, much less organized and much more creative type, where I like to sort of free flow and see what novel solutions I can come up with. Nikki is extremely organized and very thorough. So when we're working together, I think we create a very good balance where one of us can sort of make sure that we're following through on all the different steps that are needed to actually make something come through to fruition. And the other one can really try and look at the bigger picture and how we can sort of apply the things that we're working on more broadly.
So it sounds to me like Nikki keeps you grounded and you keep her in the air.
I try to.
Perfect. I love that. I mean, you have to have the combination to really be visionary.
Yeah.
But then be practical.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of having a co-founder that you can have a very strong relationship with really helps both of us be able to actually be better at what we do. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I always love those the dynamic duo stories. Those are my favorite.
Yep. We're trying to write a new one, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And you met at UC?
Yeah, that's right. We met back in 2012 when Nikki started her PhD. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to transition to AesculaTech. What exactly is the story behind the company and how it got started?
Sure. So the company was started by Nikki and myself kind of as a result of our meeting during our PhDs. So we were both people who were sort of in the lab late nights and weekends, and we got to talking and really trying to think about what we wanted to do next. And it was obvious that neither one of us really wanted to go the conventional routes of either going towards academia or going towards a traditional industry role. And so we were really interested in sort of how we could, as senior scientific personnel, really contribute to the startup world. And so we really became interested in how we could think about applying novel technologies to actual unmet needs in the medical space.
Now that we know the origins of AesculaTech, let's talk a little bit about your product, if you don't mind briefly describing that for us.
Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you about what we're working on. So what we've developed is a temperature-responsive smart material. It is liquid at low temperature, and it becomes solid when heated to body temperature. And so this is sort of a little bit reverse from what you think of in most materials, and it allows you to do some very interesting things. And so what we're thinking of doing for medical devices is basically allowing the doctor to make a customized device for each patient during the procedure. And so our first product that we're developing to actually demonstrate this is a treatment for dry eye syndrome. And so what we do is we insert our material as a liquid into your tear duct, where once in place, it warms to body temperature and solidifies, exactly forming to the shape and size of your unique tear duct. Once there, it stops the drainage of tears away from the eye and actually alleviates the symptoms of dry eye.
I don't even know how you can conceptualize that in the beginning. And I think I heard your partner mention it, a metaphor that it's more reverse chocolate.
Yeah, so that's what we often tell people to sort of get them to understand it. Yeah, it's sort of the opposite of melts in your hand, right? It kind of becomes solid in your hand. Yeah.
So then how do you take a basic chemical reaction that children know, the M&Ms melt in your hand, how do you reverse that? How do you even start understanding that that is a possibility and then applying it?
Yeah, so a lot of it comes down to sort of the understanding and learning that you have during an advanced degree. And then beyond that, it comes to actually looking at what's available in the material space. So it comes down to a deep and large amount of R&D. And so out of that R&D, you come up with these interesting materials and processes. And then from there, you start looking for the clinical applications where they can make a difference. And so to do that, we actually started with a National Science Foundation I-Corps grant that helped us to do needs finding to understand where there were unmet medical needs that we could actually address with this technology.
That's fantastic. So if you don't mind, I would like you to kind of explain the journey from a patient's diagnosis to the application of your material.
Yeah, so there are a huge number of people in the US actually who have the symptoms and signs of dry eye disease. Almost 64 million people in the US experience the symptoms regularly enough that they're actually using over-the-counter eye drops. So that's typically the first line of defense for a patient with dry eye. Those don't actually work for a large number of patients. About 40 million of those report that they're not actually seeing adequate symptom relief from over-the-counter drops, and thus go to their doctor to see what more they can do. Once they're at the doctor, they're typically either given a pharmaceutical drop, which tries to address the problem from a chemical standpoint, or what's called a punctal plug, which is what we're developing, which is a mechanical solution for dry eye. So once they're in their doctor's office, they come in. It's a simple 1-minute in-office procedure where the plug is inserted, solidifies, and then that same day they walk out and start to see symptom relief.
How long does that last?
So it lasts for a period of 1 year. So basically, as you come in for your yearly ophthalmic exam, you'll get the next plug put in.
Sounds very convenient and achievable.
Yeah.
Dry eye in particular is a side effect of some LASIK surgery.
Yeah, so it's extremely common as a side effect for LASIK surgery as well as contact lens wear. There's also a number of environmental and age and genetic factors that influence someone's propensity for dry eye.
So the market's huge. You said 68 million.
Yeah, in the US alone, yeah.
That's an unbelievably large market. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. So I want to talk about the fact that you were chosen for the TMC Next Cohort. How did it feel to be chosen to such a prestigious program?
Yeah, we're extremely happy to be here at the Texas Medical Center. They're one of the most welcoming and open communities we've ever been a part of, and they're really excited about bringing novel medical technologies to bear. And so they've really made that apparent in how welcoming they've been to us and the opportunities that they've opened for us in both clinical and non-clinical settings.
Do you find that you're getting support that you didn't expect to get?
Yeah, it's above and beyond our expectations. So when you come into these programs, you start by sort of looking around in your network and asking people who've been through it before. And so we had a number of friends of ours who'd been through previous cohorts, and they already set the bar quite high. But once we came here, it's actually exceeded expectations.
That makes me so happy to hear that.
Yeah, that's why we've been thrilled to be here.
And I'm sure CDI at TMC is very happy to hear that as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to look into the future a little bit.
Sure.
With AesculaTech.
Yeah.
What milestone that you could achieve would make you feel like you finally made it?
Yeah. Well, I think the most obvious one always is regulatory approval. So going through the FDA process and seeing that we actually have a cleared product would be like a very huge achievement that I'd be extremely happy and proud of myself.
I mean, it's validation.
Right.
And it's the FDA, and it's not easy to get validation from the FDA.
Never, yeah.
So what are your priorities for 2018 and 2019?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what we're looking to do at AesculaTech is grow the team and grow our milestones. So essentially, the work that we've done so far has been great, and it's really proven out the technology for the applications that we're looking for. We're basically just looking to scale up. So do everything bigger and do everything better.
Thank you so much for being here, Andrew. I really appreciate your time. I wish you the very best, and I'll keep an eye on you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.